Today, we're diving into something that I know so many of you might be struggling with. And honestly, it might be one of the most universal spiritual questions that human beings ask. How do I know if I'm making the right decision? This could be the decision to commit to someone, or the decision to leave someone, the decision to move cities or countries, or to switch careers, start a business, have a baby, go back to school. It could even be the quiet, everyday decisions that feel small but carry emotional weight, like whether to set a boundary, say no, walk away, begin something new, or change a long-held pattern. Some of you are in seasons where you're standing at the fork in the road with two completely different futures staring back at you, and you genuinely don't know which one is right. Some of you have a history of making decisions you judge yourself for. So now you're afraid to make any decision at all because you don't trust yourself. Or you feel like you've been disappointed by your own self in the past, or you've chosen wrong before, so now you freeze. Some of you might be stuck in analysis paralysis, spinning mental stories, pros and cons lists, predictions, hypotheticals, fears, but no amount of thinking is helping. And for some of you, maybe you've already made the decision in your soul, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. So today I want to walk you through the deeper spiritual, psychological, somatic, and intuitive layers of decision making so that the next time you're at that crossroads, you're not spiraling in fear, you're anchored in clarity. Let's jump in. Becoming a co-creator with the creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity, because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your #1 source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together. Let's start with this. You are not indecisive because you are weak. And you're not confused because you are behind, and you're not stuck because you're broken. Big decisions feel hard because they represent a death and a rebirth. Every choice is the death of an old identity and the beginning of a new one. So your system isn't afraid of the decision itself, it's afraid of who you'll have to become on the other side of it. And so the mind begins to panic, right? What if I mess up? What if I lose something important? What if I regret it? What if I choose wrong? But here's the thing. Your mind is not meant to be the decision maker. Your mind is meant to be the translator of your intuition. Your intuition makes the decision, and your mind explains it later. So when you try to think your way into clarity, you actually block the very part of you that knows. And this is where a teaching that I love so much by Carl Jung comes in. Jung said that when you're torn between two paths, two choices, two futures, two versions of yourself, the work is not to rush into deciding. Instead, he said something brilliant. He said, hold both options in your consciousness. Let the tension exist. Let the paradox exist. Let the unknown exist. This time period of holding the opposites, the yes and the no, the staying and the leaving, the beginning and the ending, it creates an inner alchemy kind of situation. And so Jung called this a gestation period or a psychological pregnancy. In that space of not knowing, your unconscious actually starts to rearrange itself, and your intuition starts to clarify, and your nervous system starts regulating itself. And slowly the truth begins to rise. And so in this way of doing things, you don't decide, the decision reveals itself. And this is one of the most powerful spiritual truths. Clarity is not forced, clarity is born. When the time is right, the path you were meant to take becomes the only path that feels congruent with who you are becoming. And so I really invite you to hear what I'm about to say with your whole heart. Confusion is not failure. Confusion is the hallway between one version of you and the next. Every time your identity shifts, every time your soul upgrades, you enter a liminal space where nothing feels clear. You're no longer who you were and not yet who you are becoming. And this is where most people begin to panic. This is where people begin to force decisions. This is where rush just to make the discomfort stop. But the truth is, confusion is the cocoon and clarity is the butterfly. Trying to force a decision in confusion is like trying to hatch a butterfly by ripping open the cocoon. And you don't get clarity faster, you just harm the process this way. So if you're confused, don't shame yourself. It just means you're growing. It means something inside of you is reorganizing itself. It means that life is shifting you into a new timeline. And it means that your soul is saying, wait, there's something else I want you to see before you choose. And so confusion is really holy ground. Judaism does not see confusion as failure. It sees confusion as the birthplace of clarity, and that's important. There's so many beautiful teachings from Jewish sages. One of them is from the Sfat Emet, who says, where there is confusion, there is light. Which means when you don't know what to do, when the path feels foggy or you're torn, this is exactly when God is closest. Not in the certainty, but in the question. And the Zohar goes to say that before every elevation, the soul enters the state of tohu, which is a state of disorientation. And the reason is that because before a new level of consciousness emerges, the old structure needs to crumble. And so Kabbalah calls this Or Makif, or surrounding light, which means a bigger light is coming in, but your current vessels are not formed yet. So everything feels confusing because a new version of you is being born. And so Kabbalistically speaking, we honor the confusion. It's actually quite sacred. And when you're stuck, the Creator is rearranging something that you can't see. And so in Kabbalah, there's a concept called Hester Panim, the hiding of God's face. But the mystics teach something profound. Hiding is not absence, it's preparation. And when you feel stuck or unsure, the upper worlds are rearranging things for you. And in this state, your job is not to force clarity, it's to hold the space until clarity arrives. Like Jung said, hold the tension of opposites. Like the Tzfat Emet said, this confusion hides light. Or like the Zohar, before expansion comes disorientation. Okay, so the moment clarity, in Judaism, it has a name, this moment before the clarity comes. It's machshava kodemet lema'aseh. Thought comes before action. The unstuck moment is not mental failure. It's the soul incubating the next step. And so like if we think about Avraham, our holy sage, God said to him, go forth. But he didn't tell him where to go. Avraham had to begin before he knew where he was going. And when Moshe stood at the Red Sea and the people were frozen, there was confusion. People were terrified. They were stuck between the sea and the Egyptians. And God didn't say in that moment, make the right decision. God said, move forward, meaning Don't obsess over right versus wrong. Just take the next aligned step, which is a manifestation principle I talk about all the time. So in this case, the sea didn't split until Nachshon walked into the water up to his neck. And so we learn here that clarity is often revealed after movement, not before. And this is big, right? This takes away so much pressure. You don't have to see the whole path. Just take the next step, the next inch. In fact, the Baal Shem Tov said that wherever you find yourself is the place God placed you for your next elevation. And so what this means is if you're confused, that confusion is your curriculum. If you feel stuck, that stuckness is your soul's assignment. And if you feel torn, that conflict is trying to grow your vessels. So Kabbalah says that the soul grows through birur, through the refinement of confusion into clarity, darkness into light, chaos into order. And so when you feel stuck, don't think that something's wrong with you. Just think that my soul is refining itself right now. I mean, this reminds me of my personal story, that after October 7th, my family, meaning me, my husband, and the kids, we left Israel for what we thought would be just a couple of weeks. We thought, okay, a pause, a breather, a moment to ground our kids and ourselves. But once we were in America, we were suddenly faced with a massive decision that felt too big for our overwhelmed nervous systems, right? All the questions were being asked. Do we go back to Israel? Do we stay in America longer? What are we meant to do? Where is home right now? Where do we feel safest? Where will we thrive? Where does God want us? It was just pure uncertainty after uncertainty. And we really couldn't feel into the right answer, at least not for the first, 6 months or so. And we couldn't hear the next step. And let me tell you, there's nothing more tumultuous and stressful than trying to force clarity when your heart is still processing trauma. We felt rushed, we felt pressured, we felt confused, we felt like every answer contradicted the other. We wanted to go back to Israel, yet it never felt like the right time yet. And I remember feeling this deep frustration in my chest, this urgency to choose something, anything, just so the discomfort would end. So I called my mentor and I asked him what to do. And I was expecting a really wise, direct answer, a clear direction, something concrete. But instead he said, you cannot come to a clear decision from an inner space of confusion. Give it time. Let life show you. Let life show you. It was such a simple sentence, but it melted something inside me. Because it almost gave me a permission slip to stop forcing, to stop pushing clarity up a hill until we figure it out. We were living in what Judaism calls the midbar, the desert. The desert is not punishment. It is the place where identity is born. The Israelites became a nation in the desert. Their clarity came after 40 years of wandering. So we were, my husband and I, in our own desert. And that's why my mentor's words were so wise. It offered me the Hebrew word hishtavut, equanimity, which calmed the mind and it allowed God to reveal what needed to be revealed. And so we waited and we held both options without pushing either one away. And from that surrendered place of deep trust, God began sending signs, right? We just softened. We lived our lives. We stayed open. We held both possibilities with equal humility and curiosity. And from that surrendered space, without forcing, without controlling, something miraculous began to happen. People started gathering around us, and Beryl and I started hosting circles, and families were showing up, and connections were forming, and a community was actually emerging around us, and one that we were able to facilitate and still do. And it felt effortless and organic and divinely orchestrated. And it was really as if God was saying, you don't need to choose. Let me choose for you. Hi, Ayelet here. I just wanted to pop in and say I am so excited to officially introduce the Manifestation Method portal, membership, and app. This is your home for all things Kabbalistic manifestation. You'll get access to my monthly live workshops, soul deep hypno activations and attunements, all of our manifestation courses, and our global community of manifestors. And the best part? It's just $26 a month. That's less than a latte a week. Come manifest alongside me and start creating the life you desire and deserve. Head over to ayeletpolonsky.com to join us. And the choice became obvious, not because we forced clarity, but because we created space for it. Right? Life organized our path long before we mentally could. And the amount of synchronicities that revealed ourselves were huge, and leading to this point now where we hold spiritual community. It's not something we could have planned or clearly had mapped out for ourselves. But this is the power of not forcing, of holding the gestation period, of letting life reveal the answer. The path a person is truly meant to walk, God guides them into it. So even if the conscious mind doesn't know, the soul knows. And the Creator leads the soul. Right? So Kabbalah teaches that the world is built on bechira, free will. But free will doesn't mean choose perfectly. It means choose authentically and consciously. Choose from your soul, not your fear. And Kabbalah actually adds something fascinating. It teaches that your soul already chose the major decisions before you were born. So you're not deciding for the first time, you're simply remembering. And that's why the right choices feel like a coming home, like a recognition, like alignment in the body. And if you pay attention, your soul tells you when something is right, and it tells it to you through ease and peace and expansion and deep resonance, right? And that's the voice of the Nefesh Elokit, the divine soul that we all have inside of us. So the voice of fear, tightness, pressure, urgency, that's the ego. And Judaism teaches that the ego doesn't make good decisions, but the soul does. And so if you're stuck between this crossroads, Kabbalah teaches that you get unstuck not by figuring it out or coming to it from a mental perspective, but by raising your consciousness. When you elevate your state, you elevate your perception, and you naturally make better decisions, right? We call this moachin de gadlut, expanded consciousness. And expanded consciousness feels like calm, possibility, curiosity, breath, inner spaciousness, softening in the body, a sense of being guided, a quiet internal yes, but you got to get quiet enough to listen to it. Because in that state, the answer you're seeking rises without force, right? And in contrast to expanded consciousness is moachin de katnut, or constricted consciousness, which is fear and urgency and pressure and anxiety and scarcity. And you can't hear God in moachin de katnut, in that constriction. You can only hear your own panic. Right? And that's why Jewish tradition emphasizes meditation and breath and prayer and contemplation. And I love this, hitbodedut, speaking to the Creator from your heart. Right? We enforce stillness and Shabbat, rest, surrender. These practices don't fix your problem, but they fix your state. And once your state of beingness shifts, your clarity shifts with it. Right? Again, you cannot make a clear decision from an unclear state, right? Like my mentor said, this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned, right? You will never learn about decision-making from a dysregulated nervous system, right? If you're overwhelmed or anxious or in scarcity or fear, confusion, if you're in panic or urgency, or if your nervous system is in survival mode, right? Your mind will grasp for whatever feels like relief in those moments. It's not going to grasp for what is true. And so decisions made from contraction lead to more contraction. And decisions made from stability lead to alignment. And so here we see that the goal is not to choose quickly, but the goal is to choose consciously. And so when you're dysregulated, your first job is not to make a decision. Your first job is to pause and breathe and regulate and soften and return to yourself. Because when you're back in your body, your intuition can finally speak up again. Okay. And so how do we actually know when we're making the right decisions? That's a big question. I think you really know you're making the right decision when your body feels a subtle sense of relief, right? Not necessarily excitement or fireworks and not certainty, but relief. A quiet yes, a softening, an exhale. It's a gentle inner click, right? It's a feeling like something is aligning itself almost without your effort. And yeah, sometimes it does feel like excitement, but go deeper than the excitement, because the excitement could be short-lived, right? Right decisions feel like truth, not like adrenaline, right? The wrong decisions often feel like urgency or pressure or fear or need to escape discomfort, whereas aligned decisions feel like presence, right? Wrong decisions feel like contraction. Aligned decisions, they might be scary because they are filled with possibility and leveling up, right? Aligned decisions feel like grounded expansion, like this might be scary, but it feels right. Yeah, sometimes the answer doesn't come when you want it. Sometimes the answer doesn't come until you've lived through the exact moment it becomes obvious, right? Sometimes you have to walk a little bit down one path to truly feel whether it's yours. And sometimes you have to let emotions settle before truth rises. Right? Sometimes God delays clarity because you're still growing into the version of yourself who can receive the answer. Right? So clarity is not withheld. Clarity is revealed in perfect timing. And here's the biggest secret. There are no wrong decisions when you are aligned with yourself. There are only lessons that shape you, because even the wrong decision brings you closer to the right path, because it teaches you who you are. It refines you. It teaches you your values, and it shows you what your soul truly wants. So you can't make a wrong decision if you're choosing from authenticity. The only real wrong decision is the one you make by abandoning yourself. Right? And so before we go any further, I want to speak into something that brings so much comfort and relief when you're standing at a crossroads. And this really is emphasizing the fact that there is no such thing as wrong decision. And I know that sounds radical, especially for those of us who grew up believing that life is one giant spiritual exam. And if we choose the wrong door, we mess everything up. But here's the truth. When you trust that life is for you, when you trust that your soul is guiding you, when you trust that the Creator is always leading you toward your tikkun, your soul correction, then every decision becomes the right decision, even if it means divorce or career change or moving countries, whatever. Right? And I don't mean that every path is without pain. And I don't mean that you're not going to encounter challenges on one road versus another. But I do mean this, that no matter which path you choose, you will always end up exactly where your soul needs to be. Because your soul is in partnership with God, not with your anxiety. Right? People love a really good pros and cons list. But pros and cons are literally that, pros and cons. You can argue either direction with a pros and cons list. You can't rationalize yourself, or rather you can actually rationalize yourself into oblivion. And that's because the mind was never designed to decide your destiny, right? The mind can assess, but destiny is decided by the soul. And so when you're at a crossroads, it's time to stop obsessing over whether there is a right choice, because really there isn't. There's an aligned one. There's an honest choice. There's a present moment choice in this very moment. There's the choice that feels true in your body. And even if you take a path and later realize it wasn't the fit, then guess what? It was still the right decision, because that path held a divine lesson. It held a strengthening. It held your resilience. It held a piece of your tikkun, your soul's correction. And the wisdom you learn from it shapes who you are. So you didn't miss anything. You didn't derail your destiny. You were learning what your soul came here to learn. And this is why the real work is in trusting your intuition, trusting your gut, trusting the signs that God places in front of you, right? The name of the game is to allow, allow, allow. Unless something is, okay, time sensitive or very urgent, okay? Slow down your decision-making process otherwise and regulate your nervous system and drop into the body, right? Because pressure creates fog and presence creates clarity, right? And really, speaking of divine unfolding, before I moved to Israel and stepped into the life that is so profoundly aligned with my soul, I lived in India for 6 years, doing things that would have had my Jewish ancestors like absolutely rolling in their graves. Like bowing down to idols. There, I said it. Okay, let's just say if my great-grandmother could have FaceTimed me from the shtetl, she would have said, Bubala, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Okay. And so people often ask me, do you regret those 6 years? Do you wish you had skipped that time and gone straight to Israel? Do you feel like you postponed marriage and kids unnecessarily? Imagine the amount of Torah and Kabbalah you could have learned in all those 6 years, right? Every single time my answer is the same. It is a confident, embodied, wholehearted no. I did not waste time. Those years in the ashram shaped me. They cracked me open. They gave me tools and depth and presence and compassion and a direct experience to the divine that I now bring into every aspect of my Jewish lifestyle. Those years prepared me for the life I now live, for the work that I do, the community I lead, my marriage, the woman I am. And so did it look like a detour? Absolutely. But was it? Not even for a second. Because now with the gift of hindsight, I can see how perfectly the tapestry wove itself. Every thread I thought that might have been random, every seeming misstep, every wrong quote unquote choice I made, every uncertain moment was actually part of the exact design that makes my life so rich and meaningful today. And this is what I really want you to hear. You can't ruin the plot of a story that God is writing. You can make choices, mistakes, you can wonder, and somehow the soul will always guide you back to your path. It's just by design. So breathe and release the illusion that your life hinges on one perfect decision, because it doesn't. Your job is not to choose perfectly, it's to choose consciously and honestly. It's to follow the quiet inner yes and to surrender to the outcome. Trust the unfolding, because then there, I promise you, from that level of consciousness, there is no such thing as a wrong decision. It is all an unfolding of the next step in your becoming. Okay, and the answer always comes when you stop forcing and controlling. It comes when you stop spiraling. It comes when you stop demanding certainty. Get out of ego, get out of your head, right? Stop shaming yourself for not knowing. And simply start, it sounds simple, I know it's not, but start listening and feeling in your body and regulating and observing and allowing and opening and trusting, right? Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from aligning your inner world, right? Because when the inner world is clear, the outer world naturally matches the inner world. And from there, the path becomes visible. The yes becomes obvious. The no becomes undeniable. So life is always guiding you through resonance. And so if you're standing in a place right now where you genuinely do not know what to choose or what decision to make, take a deep breath and stay with that tension. Hold both possibilities lightly and let the gestation period do its work. Don't force the butterfly out of the cocoon. Stay in trust, because life will show you. It always does. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. Please, please, please trust me when I say you are not one decision away from ruining your life. You are not lost. You are not behind. You're being guided, even when you can't see the path clearly yet. There's no such thing as a wrong choice when you're rooted in trust. Life is not testing you, it is partnering with you. And clarity doesn't come from forcing, it comes from softening and slowing down and allowing life to reveal the next step in its own divine timing. And if today's episode gave you even one exhale, one sense of relief, if you feel lighter or clearer, then I want to invite you to take this work even deeper with me inside the Manifestation Method membership. Every month, we go beyond the mental chatter and into the embodied spiritual practices that make intuitive decision-making second nature, through hypno-activations and somatic work and Kabbalistic teachings and a community, of global community that actually supports your growth and cheers you on. And you don't have to navigate these crossroads alone. And you don't have to rush your clarity, and you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Come join us. The link is in the show notes of this episode and in my bio. And remember, the right decision always finds you once you stop forcing and start trusting. So if this episode moved you, please go ahead and give this podcast a like and a rating. It helps get it out to more people so that we can start shifting the frequency of the planet together. Thanks so much for listening. I love you. Here's to your rising. Enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method Portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.